Hey,
Hello, welcome. Welcome, everyone.
hi.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so nice to see people's faces. Srividya, it's been a while. It's
I
nice to see
know.
you.
How are you all doing? My God, I can't contain my excitement.
This is so good.
Hi, Jasmeet, Dhaval.
Hi,
How are you?
Srivi. Long time.
Okay, well, we're gonna have folks continuing to join. I'm gonna mute most of you, apart from our hosts. That is to say, you are absolutely encouraged to participate today and weigh in, but just so we can minimize the background noise, I will do that. And please use the Zoom's built-in tools, or just wave at us, or use the chat amongst yourselves to interact, to ask questions, to participate. I'm very excited about doing this call. For folks popping in or maybe just watching this on replay who kind of have not seen the announcements, this is a special edition of Coaches Connect. It's something I've been actually thinking about for a while, and this is the India edition. So this is specifically for coaches based in India, or perhaps working with folks in India or hailing from India. Anything India, you're here. So if you're in New York somewhere and you're like wondering what is going on, this is what we're doing today. So thank you so much for being here today. India is one of PN's largest communities outside of North America, England, like UK, and Australia. So like in terms of like the actual like English speaking countries, we have few hundred PN coaches in India, as you might have seen in our directory, but I've always been always wanting to bring some of you folks together. So welcome. I am joined today by two co-hosts, and this is Coach Jasneet and Coach Dhaval, and we're going to start by just doing a little bit of an intro. Most of you are probably familiar with my face and name kicking around the communities. I'm Kate. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Precision Nutrition and a Master Coach. And Coach Jasneet, why don't you kick us off? Let us know where you're based in India. What does your coaching practice look like? How long you've been coaching? Who do you coach? Tell us a little bit about your coaching life.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Coach, for organizing this. I'm really excited to see we've like 17 people here, even though it's Diwali week. It's the biggest week in India. So hello all. I'm Jasneet. Been part of the PN. Been a PN coach now for about 7 years, I think. Yeah. In my what seems like my past life, I used to be in the corporate grind, working in the financial services industry based out of Gurgaon. Did that for about 13 years. And some folks in the road, which mainly involved not wanting to do the corporate grind for much longer, involved us, my husband and I, deciding to try out a life in the hills. So we moved from Delhi to Dehradun in 2018. And that's the same year that I enrolled into the PN1. And subsequent, then 2019 is when I started coaching, then went on to do PN2, Master Coach, went on to do it a second time, then completed sleep and stress recovery. Like PN is kind of like an alma mater in terms of who I am as a coach. A lot of it is shaped by PN. Also worked with PN briefly for about a year, helping on the community engagement bit. But really, my coaching is for people who is really around coaching people who were like me, like corporate executives. So 90% of my clients are women based out of Delhi, Bombay, Gurgaon, Bangalore, and I coach them on health, habits, stress reduction, weight loss, and all of that. And I'm based out of Dehradun, so 100% of my coaching is online and Zoom calls. So I do a mix of one-on-one and small groups. And yeah, I'm trying to learn a little bit more every year and be a little bit better coach every year. But really excited to get to know you guys here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Dehradun is where I've done my Vipassana, Jess. I don't know if I told you that. It was somewhere in your neighborhood.
Yeah, Rishikesh.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, but it wasn't like in Rishikesh proper, right? Like, because we would need to like drive out in the middle of nowhere somewhere. So it actually was a little bit closer to you, I think. Deval, what about you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So yeah, just need to mention, I come from a corporate background as well, spent 15 years working in IT, being a leader there, being a techie there. And to the core, I said, I'm a troubleshooter. I find a problem and then I have an itch to solve it. During this journey, like I was a college level athlete, a weightlifter who did not have a coach or access to internet, because I'm talking about somewhere in late 90s and early 2000. Okay, so internet access was a dial-up. Like I come from Rajkot, Gujarat, so when we wanted internet, we had to do a dial-up, which is an STD call from Rajkot to Ahmedabad. On that one dial-up modem, there are 20 people browsing. Okay, and now if you complain about buffering, you have no idea what internet looked like then. So yeah, that's where I come from. So yeah, I did my weightlifting there. We did not have a coach, but from that point onwards, health and fitness has always been part of it, been working out, going to the gym. And as I moved into the world of IT, I had a global exposure and I had internet and I had this curiosity bug to learn, improve my own health. And in this journey, I kind of went down a rabbit hole somewhere around, you know, say 2015, 16. I said, like, go to gym, see all these trainers, and they still have the old school methods and stuff. And I was like, hey, you know what? Something needs to change, right? You can't be, talking about your knees not crossing your toes without knowing what the height is and what the length of the foot is. You're just talking crap, right? And then I said, okay, why not do that? So I started training as a group exercise instructor, started teaching group exercise, and realized people come in for weight loss. So, and people said, oh, you have to do PT. Like, okay. So I did my ACE personal training. I did my ACE personal training and realized that there is one chapter on nutrition there. Okay. And if you want to lose weight, nutrition is the biggest thing. I'm like, great. And two of my coaches who were coaching me on, becoming a personal trainer were PN certified. So they kind of led me to this. And that's where I started PN. I think I enrolled somewhere around October, November 2018. And from that time onwards, I've been coaching on nutrition online, 100%. I live in Bangalore now. And yeah, and then I went down the rabbit hole. So by the time I finished my, L1 within a couple of months, I already had one client. And then you realize that shit, you have a responsibility to deliver the results. It's not just about what you know, but how do you make other people do it? And then I did level 2. Then I did level 2 V2. Like I did the 1 year level 2, if people are familiar with that, with Coach Dome and Robin there. So yeah, it's been there. And then did my SSR. So kind of went down the rabbit hole to really identify wherever I saw an opportunity, a gap which was there in my coaching practice. So when I was talking to people and say, hey, they're not able to solve this, they're not able to solve this, I just went in, and PN became like one of the places where I got all my learnings from. So core philosophy of my coaching is a lot more about how you do stuff rather than what you do, right? What you do matters, but how you go about it matters a lot. So that's what I do. I mostly work with men. It's not by choice, but it's just by, the way it kind of happens. Most of them corporate execs, entrepreneurs, and yeah, most of them in their 40s and around that. So yeah, that's what I do. Long story short.
Thank you,
If
coaches.
it was if it was short.
Both Jasneet and Deval, they pretty much have done everything that PN has to offer. I'm pretty sure that Srividya is in that category as well. So if anyone is curious about level 2 or sleep, stress, nutrition. And I didn't ask them for permission to send hordes of Indian people their way, but tap them on the shoulder to ask about their experience. Um, Meanwhile, so the purpose of this call was kind of twofold in my mind. I mean, as I've mentioned, India is one of the larger communities for PN folks. But also today, I wanted to connect you to people in the country that you're in, right? Like it can be just so helpful to, like we are kind of solving the same problems worldwide, but it is still helpful to have that little bit of support and have colleagues. And sometimes you know, feel like you're the only one in a silo of online coaching and entrepreneurship, right? Like, so to have somebody who can relate, I think is really helpful. But I think also we're talking today about what's the same and what's different, right? Like, because when we talk about working in India, when we talk about working with clients that live and work in India, many things will be the same, many things will be different, right? And I think of it, it's like, well, how do we tell the difference between the two? How do we kind of narrow in on what is the same and what is different? I asked folks to put in where they're based in. I think for the most part, we will see coaches mostly based in large metropolitan cities. I see Chennai, I see Mumbai, I see Bangalore. Someone's in Japan, someone's in Goa. Right, so that makes sense. Yeah, Coach Dom says same but different. Same but different. I actually heard that quite a bit as well, right? Like same. Um, so today we're really going to talk a little bit about that. And here's one thing I want to just start us off with. Can you let us know what you had for your last meal, like in chat or just on speaker? Like, because it's this nutrition coaches, right? I'm putting everyone on the spot, so just let me know. I will share what I had to. I'm like trying to remember now. Yes, Shraddha, and I'm so sorry. I'm probably butchering your name. So go ahead. What did you have for your last meal?
Hi, Kate. Hi, everyone. My name is Shraddha. Quick introduction. I'm from Pune, India. I've been practicing for 3.5 years and I've done PNL1. I would love to explore PNL2 and SSSR. My last meal, I started with a whey protein shake. I had a salad, I had sauteed vegetables and some rice. And if I can mention a sort of issue that is very India specific, is fulfilling our daily protein needs. I'm sure a lot of coaches over here have a similar saying that they find it hard to get their clients to meet their protein needs, the understanding their requirements, because our country is known as the diabetes capital, and a recent ICMR study pointed out that due to the high carbohydrate diet, we have low protein and there's a balance sort of missing. So that's one problem I'd love to talk about with the other coaches and get their views. So
Noted, for sure. Yeah, and that's been on our radar for sure. And I mean, I encourage, thank you. I appreciate you introducing yourself as well. Meanwhile, take a look at the chat. I know this is not a surprise for anyone here, right? Like what you see in the chat. But I will share with you that I, as a white coach based in North America, do not remember last time I had rice. Right? And you're all giggling, right? Like, what did I have for breakfast today? I had toast with peanut butter, I had coffee, and I had scrambled eggs, and I had smoked salmon. Meanwhile, look what we have in the chat, right? And this is why I wanted to get us together today, because we see paneer, we see curry, we see rice, we see bread, we see some things I don't know what they are, right? So, and all of you know what they are, but there is that commonality in what you will be consuming and eating and what your clients will be consuming and eating that will be familiar, and also that will be very different and probably will not necessarily show up on a PN plate. right, as per the article. And one of the things we were talking about, kind of delving a little bit and kind of like what is the same and what is different, is kind of even the composition of meals is often quite different, right? I see nodding, where if you think of a traditional North American plate, which you may or may not be familiar with kind of in person, but definitely just from the resources on the internet, you will actually see and come to expect components that are much more separated, than where you will see like the meat, right? And the starch and the vegetables, right? Like, and they're kind of separated on the plate. And we would often see folks asking in the PN coaches that are like, well, my clients are eating dal. I'm eating dal. Like, how do I measure dal, right? Like, and somebody said like raita and paneer, right? Like you have all these mixed curries that look very different, like they're component wise. So more mixed dishes, more curries, and as one of you already mentioned, like even the component split, like the macro splits, we would often see that is quite different. So how do we work with that? How do we translate the knowledge or the theory that you're then learning and in PN certification and apply that to the population that you're working with? Jess, can you talk a little bit about like maybe that little bit of a disconnect that you found between like, okay, well, here's the plate and here's our plate, and how do we close that gap?
Yeah, I think, Coach, a couple of things for me is that personally, yes, it's not easy getting, as much protein as probably someone in North America gets. But at the same time, because I don't come from like a traditional, background of having worked as a dietitian or having gone to dietetic school, I also don't come with that, that kind of, what do I say, insistence upon having certain grams of protein or, making sure that there is a number against the protein that's getting consumed. So therefore, like simple guidelines like are you including one source of protein at every meal has served me well with my clients, because what do we have for protein, right? Like nothing is now, if the client is non-vegetarian, it makes life easier. Options are far higher. If the client is vegetarian, that's wherein I think that whole thing of dietary displacement, right? Like why are the carbs higher? Because the other foods are lesser, like veggies are lesser, protein is lesser. So as you increase that, the carbs get naturally displaced or naturally kind of reduced, right? But as long as you're having a good sized portion of dal at every meal, right? Or paneer, or tofu, or eggs, right? Or yogurt, which is slightly thicker, right? So I found that's generally work well. And then for clients who have like a little bit advanced goals, right? Who have those last couple of kilos, the last cup, that extreme they need very specific targeted advice. There I would generally say, okay, now you can probably look at adding a whey protein or a supplement, right? Generally for clients who also want that ease of eating during office, right, where they don't have to worry about a meal, a whey supplement is a pretty safe alternative to carry, right? But I also advise that from ease of planning the meal rather than just to consume enough protein. So I think as are they eating enough protein at every meal? That's what matters. And then if they have more advanced goals, or if they're not seeing results, then adding a whey supplement, helping to work through their beliefs around supplementation is a helpful conversation at that point.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I saw also the comment from Srividya, like for my vegetarian clients, I always tell them to include 2 sources of protein. So combination of yogurt and dal, yogurt and legumes, yogurt and sprouts. But for paneer and tofu, hand portions can work well. And just need also to your point also, when we start talking about like what is enough protein, right? And enough for what? Because what we are really are looking at in terms of like closing the gaps between like different cultures and applying what like the common principles is what is helpful and what is not helpful. Because if something is not helpful, if something is not directly applicable, it is okay to set it aside, right? Like, so, for paneer and tofu, hand portions can work wonderfully, right? Like for salad, hand portions can work wonderfully. But for mixed meals, maybe not so much, especially if most of the food consumed is mixed meals. So I always think of that example. This is a little bit of an exaggeration, but not a lot of an exaggeration, where it's a post along the lines of like, "Hey coaches, I have this client who is vegan and doesn't like legumes. How do they hit 200 grams of protein?" And I always say, brother, they don't, right? Like, so, because we kind of have to call like limitations of reality there, right? Like, so that's where I really encourage you to just consider, even with something like the PN hand portions, which I'm obviously a huge fan of, and I've seen it work really well, is also realizing the limitation of that method, limitation of any method. Right? Like, at what point is it helpful? And at what point we're now starting to do like mental gymnastics just to make the method work? Because the point is never the method. The point is meeting our clients where they're at and actually helping them to make the changes. Adiba, you have a question, go for it.
Hi. Actually, my question was regarding protein, where we spoke about legumes and pulses as an add-on to our protein requirement. Now, I've also seen some people who have issues by consuming a lot of them as well to meet their protein targets, because they're also quite lesser in protein compared to our lean protein sources. So I think that's also one big issue we face while counting protein in terms of the Indian diets, because we are very high on those kind of foods and leaner proteins are lesser. So I mean, I'm not too sure on this, but I personally found that keeping a count of how much, like just understanding that suppose 100 grams of chicken or 100 grams of paneer is this portion size, it automatically helps understand the amount you should be eating. Like that's what I'm not, maybe people might be having a better approach towards this, but this personally worked for me because I feel otherwise, dals, Indians would just eat like one bowl. They will not eat that much, how much you could probably get. So yeah, mixing does help, but I also see that too much mixing sometimes can cause a lot of digestion issues to some people.
Thank you for that addition. I really appreciate it. Like, what is a portion size? Because I mean, I grew up thinking that the portion size is whatever my grandma put in front of me.
Yes.
That's the portion size, right? And then I had to kind of recondition my long suffering spouse, because he's the one that does most of the cooking in our household, which is actually probably fairly unusual in India. But the fact that he would always serve us the same amount of food, and I'm like, that this is twice what I need, right? Like, so he's like, well, just don't finish it. I was like, but I can't do that because grandma, right? Like, so I can't not finish it. So I'm having these like competing cultural things, right? Like, that are fighting for in my head. So Adiba, thank you. Like, very helpful to know what the serving is. And I sometimes suggest that clients even do weigh and measure for a little bit to get a sense of what the portion size is. Like, if you've never seen what 4 to 6 ounces of chicken breast looks like, you
Right.
actually could be quite off. Like, I don't know if you eat peanut butter, but it's like the 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is a very sad amount of peanut butter. So getting a sense of what the amount is of chicken that we're shooting for. Deval,
Yeah,
did you want to jump in? Yeah, please.
yeah. So I'll add to this. So see this number thing, okay, always is more in our head than in our client's head, and we are the one who put that number in their head, okay. And if they come to us with a certain number in head, I think it's our responsibility as coaches to make them understand what it means. Okay, if you're going to have 100 grams of protein, or if you're going to have 90 grams of protein, like physically, you're not seeing any difference at all with a 10% variance. Okay, we all know that. Now, the reason why I'm pulling that out is, as we talked about, and we always say Indians, but I've worked with Indians, and I do work with Indians living in North America and a lot of other, cultural people as well. Almost everybody who has a health issue who's coming to us is eating less protein and less vegetables and eating a lot more carbs and fat. Okay, so it's not just India specific problem. So don't take it as like, oh, in India we eat too many carbs. Everybody eats too many carbs, and that's why they have a problem. Okay, so that's number one. Second part is, when we are looking at it, more often or not, we coaches, especially if we come from a little bit of athletic background, we are almost like somewhere between level 1 and 2. I wouldn't even say we are level 2, but if you look at level 1, level 2, level 3, clients, we are between level 1 and 2. More often or not, how much ever we think our clients are, 99.9% are level 1 or minus or 0. Okay, so if they're eating 10 grams of protein a day, even if you make them eat 20, even if you make them eat 30, it's 100%, 200% increment or improvement from what they are doing. So if you're going to put that number around, been there, done that, guilty, right? It will be like you and client both trying really hard, huffing and puffing to get that 100 grams in. Okay. While when you hit 80, you're still not satisfied because you're like, hey, I couldn't get the remaining 20 done. But hey, you know what? Last month you were at 10. And now you're at 80. So you're like doing way better. So that's the most important thing, that, where is your client currently at and how you are taking them to that next level. Even if you ask them to add 10 grams extra per meal, you're talking about 3 meals a day, 30 grams extra. And that's quite a lot, and it will show tangible changes to them. Okay, so that's number one on the level of it. The second part about, we all, get into, when we see a method, we feel like, hey, you know what? If PN is doing this, if people are doing this, this method has to work, and I need to fit my triangle into this square. Okay, this hand portion into Indian meals. Certain food, like as Srividya just said, does work. Like I can put protein, 200 grams of any Nandini or Amul paneer or any paneer on top of my palm and say, hey, you know what? This is approximately 1 palm and it would work. Okay. But if somebody's made something else, like, you get a biryani and like, there is paneer in it and chicken in it, and now tell me, get the hand portions. Okay. Tell me how much of fat went in. You can't. Okay. So one thing is, stop expecting that to work. Okay. It is not supposed to be. This is a modular approach. So understand the logic behind it. Like why? What we are trying to say is, you need to have a certain amount of protein, certain amount of veggies, certain amount of carbs and fat. In Indian meals, one of the things that you don't have to really worry about or tell people is, don't think even about fat. Okay, just divide your plate into three: protein, veggies, and carbs. Okay, and start to just look at these three, because when we cook, even we use ghee or butter or oil or something or the other for cooking. Most of our meals are cooked meals, okay, other than salads, and a lot of people don't even eat salads, right? So that's how it is. And the part, if you are an old timer here, so I'll give you, there is also an example of how plates can be done in the PN document for India. Okay, if you have any of the old Pro Coach guides or any of the meal planning guides, if I'm not wrong, it's there as well. It's called Indian Three Ways. Okay, so you just define three parts of it. It's in one of those. I think Kitchen Rescue Pack, the old time Pro Coach guide. If you like, a lot of you may not know it, but if you know, or if you can figure that out somewhere, okay, it can probably point to any of the articles which has, it is there, that okay, this is how you do it. It does not have a 4 parts to it of protein, veggies, carbs, and fat in thumb and palm and cup thing. It will actually help you how do you do it in the Indian context. So that's the most important thing. Don't get around that number. Okay, that number is mostly in our head, and if people come and then sometimes somebody is like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna good that, then you should be like, as Kate says, like, you are a vegan and you're allergic to legumes. Congratulations, you're not looking at 200 grams easy or never, right? Get a scoop of whey protein. Now you have a problem with whey protein being a powder, being a supplement, having artificial sweeteners and this and that. That's the conversation, difficult conversations we got to have with our clients, saying that, hey, you know what? The worst whey protein is still regulated and scrutinized, and they still tell you what is in the box. The samosa that you go and eat, you have absolutely no idea what shit went inside. All right. So we scrutinize these, and that's the education and the discussion that we got to have as coaches with the client. So hope this kind of helps. More often or not, volume-based division works well. Okay. So instead of using palms, you can use cups, measuring cups. Like I've done that with a lot of my clients, use measuring cups, and you get measuring cups with a long handle. So they couple as a serving spoon. So if they're making a meal for so many people, they just need to take one cup, put it in their plate, and they're done. They don't have to figure out anything else. So this has worked really well.
Deval,
Hope it
you
kind of gave
mentioned
you some.
something I want to speak to because I think that there might be a cultural piece there as well. Even when we're talking about supplementation, I actually think Jasneet talked about that a bit too. It's education around supplementation because I know. So I'm from Russia. I was born and raised in Russia, and I have had my parents' friends, right? So it's that generation reach out to me knowing what I do for a living, super worried because their son, who's this 19-year-old dude playing volleyball, he started taking
Whey protein.
whey protein, right? And they're terrified, right? Because it just sounds like they're mixing it up with performance enhancing drugs, like, right? Like this is like their son is on the needle, that it's going downhill, right? Like it's just like, what will I do, right? It's like the whey protein, the creatine, right? And it's like, it's fine. This is like, I'd give it to my 6-year-old and would be okay, right? Like really, of all the things. But there just might be a cultural aspect of education there in terms of like, what does it mean? What does it do? What is it? Where does it come from? Like, it's actually not chemically engineered in the lab. This is not cocaine, right? Like, this is derived from dairy. So there's going to be that piece too. I do want to shift gears a little bit. There were two other aspects that have come up just in terms of differences from the thread that we had going. One was the household setup. Right, the fact that many folks have reported like really living in a joint household, a multi-generational household, and how that can be very different than like here's a mom and a dad and 2 kids and like that's all you're cooking for. There might be grandma involved, a mother-in-law involved, and 3 aunties involved, right? Like so there's just more people to cook for. Jas, can you speak a little bit to that? Like, tell us what your household is like, and maybe you can also all let us know in the comments, like, what is your household? Like, how many people and how many family members, how many generations? Jas, speak to that a little bit, like the challenges, but also the advantages, because I think that there's both.
No, absolutely, Coach. I think so. So a little bit context. Like I got married 18 years ago, and since then, I've been living with my in-laws, right? So it's one family, and for many years there was also my brother-in-law and his family, right? But at least for the last 7 to 8 years, it's in my in-laws, my husband and I, and my kids, right? So it's 6 people, one house. So I understand, when we say joint family, how what the effect is. And also, I think here there's an important distinction that is your client a woman or a man? If she's the woman and she's the daughter-in-law, then she's likely getting, depends on how much say she has in the household menu, what firm boundaries can she draw, right? I think a lot of our work in coaching is around helping our clients define better boundaries, right? I like to tell my clients upfront that if you're going to change some habits, you'll be swimming against the tide a little bit, and we can't always be nice and sweet and very, very, and expect to have extremely healthy habits at the same time. There will be a little bit of boundary defining, right? I think the good thing is that when we've studied from PN, we are not really looking at making anything different, right? Like, where is the challenge? PN has taught us that in whatever the meal is, whatever ingredients are available or whatever the dishes have been cooked, we can make that a little bit healthier by adding some vegetables on the side, right? By making sure there is some protein included, right? So I think the other thing is that with a joint family, or with the very fact that we live in India, we also have access to help, right? Which we don't I think women especially, we don't use it enough. We don't use our help enough. So I've spent a lot of time in my coaching helping women make better expectations from their help available in the house, which is their cooks, their drivers, people who are available to help, but we are not laying down our terms as to what we need, right? Also, there is a lot of guilt involved in delegating work to the cook or to the maid, because again, Indians, we're very selective, fresh khana, khud se, we have to make everything from scratch, we have to cook on our own with our own hands and all of that. So a lot of this conversations are about belief shifting and around the fact that, listen, your time, where is your time best used? Is it in your job and looking after the kids, and taking care of your own health, or do you want to do everything on your own when you have help available? So I think we do have, while we may have more expectations in the families, we also have more help available which we need to make better use of. And the very fact that we're not asking our clients to cook something completely different here, right? But I'd be curious, like, what are the specific challenges, if someone can share, for clients who live in joint families? What is it that you're coming up against? Is there someone who wants to share or has something more specific? Okay.
I can tell you, like, a couple of people that I have spoken to, they had the time restriction that specifically at 7 p.m. I have to give dinner for my in-laws or my parents, so I cannot join for a workout session because I have to be cooking from 5 to 7 to make sure they get their dinner at 7 p.m. So these are some of the reasons. Okay, then how about going for a morning session? They say, no, morning I have to give them breakfast, I have to give them coffee, I have to give them lunch. So is that you who's doing everything? No, I have to stand there and supervise my cook and pack the box. So these are stories, that narratives in their head that they are not willing to change. Like you said, it's belief shifting most of the time.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Okay, so cool. You don't want to join in the morning, you don't want to join in the evening. So let's continue the way things are. And where do you think this is headed? And how is this working for you? Right? We continue supervising in the kitchen and keep standing on our cooks' heads, even though we have cooks, so that we can do something else, right? And then what? So let's continue on that same track, and let me know whatever change you're ready to make right now. We'll only work on that. And then, because if nothing, if nobody is getting even slightly uncomfortable, there will be no change, right? There will be some discomfort that someone has to entail. We have to entail some discomfort. The client has to entail some discomfort. Maybe the family members, the colleagues, the children, the husband, the spouse. Someone has to be uncomfortable for any change to happen. And if we think that everyone can be nice and happy and hunky-dory and comfortable and change, that's not going to happen. So yeah, this is a deeper conversation. I totally hear you, Shobna. These aren't easy.
Trivia, go for it.
Yeah, so I once worked with a client. Of course, most of my Indian clients are in joint families, but this one was very unique because she had her young children, then her in-laws, and the how do you say, grand-in-laws? Like, she had a great grandmother in the family also. So she was like kind of caught in the middle, wanting to pursue her goals, and it was so tough. She said, "Okay, even if my in-laws were to listen, how about my great grandmother, who's at home? She's totally not going to be okay." So, for her, meal planning and prepping came in so handy. Like she didn't have to worry about her meals. She just had to cook whatever they wanted, and she had her own set of meals. And slowly the kids started adapting to, oh, Amma, what are you eating? Give me a taste of it. And they started eating, and then the in-law started eating. And the icing on the cake was right when she completed the program. The great grandmother had one of her concoctions, like, why are you having something separately? Give it to me. And then she was also on board, like, oh, I really love this. Can you start making this for me also? So that was the kind of change. So again, we need to come with the mindset that it's not about overhauling everything, but are there some things that we can make it easier for our client, especially in terms of meal planning and prepping? That goes a really long way.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just need to kind of to your point, right? I walked away last time we talked. Jess was saying that she says that to clients sometimes. Do you want to be sweet and nice, or do you want to be healthy? And I'm still laughing, right? Like, like we got a T-shirt. We need a T-shirt like that, because that's fantastic. And I think that there are two pieces there. You hear how we're talking about the two sides of it, because on one hand, there is the side of other people, right? And inconveniencing other people, or maybe having a crucial conversation with other people, whether it's my mother, my mother-in-law, or my husband, or whoever. But then there's also the me side of it, right? Like where I also need to be willing to be inconvenienced once in a while, whatever that is, right? Like, well, if you can't do the workout at 7 p.m., are you willing to get up at 5 a.m.? Well, it's like, well, are you not, right? Like there's something's gotta give, where you will need to make arrangements somewhere, right? Like I'm thinking of a client that I've been working with one-on-one. We were talking about increasing movement, and she was saying how, well, in the summer I just find it's too hot, but then it gets too buggy, and then it's raining. And I said, well, it's always going to be something. So do you want to be indoors? Like let's just take it off the table altogether, right? Like, because there will be 2 perfect days in Ontario that will be, conducive to the preferences of everybody. Or are you willing to go outside and just be uncomfortable because it's hot and sweaty, right? And whatever, and you're still outside. Can you find some enjoyment in it, knowing that it's still going to be inconvenient in some way? And that's okay, right? The discomfort tolerance is going to be a big thing. I often talk to clients about redefining our relationship with discomfort, with pain, right? Like with kind of that uncomfortability of things. Deval, what are you hearing as we're talking about like the joint households and like using like hired help more efficiently? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I work with a lot of men, and one of the things that comes to me from a lot of men who actually also care about their household, and they know their, wives and moms are busy. Like, hey, I don't want my wife or mom to cook separately for me. So the most important thing here is somehow our industry has put this belief in people that if you want to eat better, you have to cook separately, cook different. And I'll tell you, in my 8 years of coaching, I've never shared a recipe to anybody. I'm like, you don't need that, right? Whatever it's made, you make it. Just because it has 1 extra spoon of oil, that's not the thing. So number one, I always talk about and tell people, like, it's not that you have to change, or like you have to cook separately. Cooking separately is not the thing. The second thing that I always like talk to my clients is your art of assembling a meal. Okay, it's just an assembly. Okay, and again, I come from a tech background. I've assembled computers, so I can hire, get a motherboard and processor and RAM and drives, and put everything together and make it work, and it can work better than the one that you guys buy from the market. So it's like, hey, you know what? You go to your house, and like if you're talking about big families, joint families, and variety of menu, then you definitely have more options to pick from. That's actually an advantage. Or if you're talking about eating out, or if you're talking about eating at a canteen or a office cafeteria, or ordering from outside, you should know what you want to just pick. Hey, I want protein, I'm a vegetarian. I like paneer. I'm going to order a dish which is paneer, or I'm going to pick up paneer from a buffet or a cafeteria. Or from in my house, I'll tell them that, hey, you know what? You're making a curry. Can we make a paneer curry? Very simple. What is that people like? Like in my house, I'll give you an example. Like 5 out of 7 days, my dinner has some way or the other of paneer coming in, because that's what all of us like. All of us can, prepare easily as well. So it's not about cooking separately. I just need to get my protein right. Salads is my veggies part. So what we do, hey, you know what? Order in a salad or pick up any veggies, even if it's not a salad, if it's a curry, if it's a different formations in India, like we can make vegetables in different ways, like South India has a different ways of, semi-cooked salads, like, all of these. You just take veggies. So you got your protein, you got your veggies. Invariably, you will have some rice or roti or paratha or idli or dosa or something which is carb. That's it. You don't need anything else, right? So looking for something special. But hey, you know what? This paneer is paneer butter masala and there is little more butter. Like, just get the paneer thing right. We'll worry about butter later. Okay. Given that you're going to eat protein or paneer every meal, 7 days a week, I know only one of them is going to be paneer butter masala or chicken butter masala if you're eating chicken. On other day, it will be something else. You're not going to be eating that. So we kind of worry about things that don't exist a lot, or getting into the perfectionism head. You know what? It has to be a lean protein. First, get the protein, get some veggies, get some carbs, and you're done. So I focus a lot more on helping people assemble. And we have, like in India, especially if you're in Bangalore or some of the bigger cities, we have the luxury of Swiggy and Zomato and kind of stuff. Like you actually can get a very good, healthy salads, proteins, and good meals at a very, very good rate. I wouldn't say affordable, because affordable becomes a, what do you say? It depends on a lot of people. What is affordable definition is different, but that's at a pretty good price. And if you're living in metros, and the kind of people that I worked with, and the people who can pay my coaching fees, they can afford it for sure. Right? So that's how I kind of make it very simple. Like, you don't have it, just order it. Like, I don't want my wife to cook separately for me and there is no protein, there is some veggies and carbs. Hey, I'll do Swiggy, and 20 minutes I'll have some paneer in my house. Or I can just have a bowl of yogurt. I can have a scoop of whey protein. So I just need to understand what are my options, tactically put them, line them up, align them, and assemble a meal. It's as simple as that, rather than thinking about, oh, I have to cook this, cook that, whatever. Like, I hardly enter a kitchen, though I like to cook. I know how to do it, but my lifestyle and my other priorities don't allow me to do it. And that's okay. I don't do it.
Deval, I'm thinking that probably every single health coach out there has had a coffee and a bagel or a muffin and a scoop of whey protein in water as their protein contribution for the meal, right? And as you're talking about like this assumption, right? Because that's what it is, that I don't want my mom, my wife, my partner to cook separately for me. And both of you have worked with me in one capacity or another. You're very familiar with my questioning of the assumptions coaching philosophy, right? Because usually I kind of catch the assumption as somebody says, I don't want them to cook for me separately. There is an assumption there. An assumption is, as Deval pointed out, I need to be cooked for separately. I need to eat separately. That's the assumption. That's the one that we catch. And that's the one that we question. The two questions I ask is it true? And does it have to be true? Is it true? Does it have to be true? Because very often it's not true. And sometimes it is, but it doesn't have to be. Right? It doesn't have to be. How do we adjust the circumstances? And you notice for the peril here that I'm thinking of, that I'm hearing much more in North America, probably less so in India, and for a fact less so in Russia, is I don't want to cook for my kids separately. My kid doesn't like this, doesn't like this, doesn't like this, doesn't like this. I keep having to cook two separate meals. Again, an assumption, right? Like, does it have to be that way? how do we change things? Like my kids are not going to touch salad because I put rat poison on it. At least that's what they're acting like, right? But when I put together a salad for me and my spouse, the same vegetables that are in the salad are going to be cut up in slices for them. And then they will look at them and then they will lick them and spit them and throw them on the floor. And I have done my job as a parent, and I move on and sing Om to myself and move on with my life, right? Like, but there is that piece of like, do we actually have to do the thing that we think we have? Like, where's that idea? Where's that belief? Okay, I think one of you, I think it was Shabana that talked about that a little bit. It's the stories we often have to dismantle. I'm cognizant of the time, so I actually would love to open up the floor here a little bit and just wonder if, for those of you tuning in, if you have any questions, not really for me so much, but for Deval and Jasneet, because you do have two coaches, two very experienced coaches that have been doing this for a while in India with folks based in India. So whether that's the structure of the business or pricing or anything else, like what do you want to ask? What do you want to raise? Shweta, go for it.
Hi, my question's a bit of a business question in terms of pricing. I've been practicing almost 4 years, and I think I've reached the stage where I don't want to negotiate with my clients. I have this set target audience, right? So I was wondering if y'all, are open to negotiation when it comes to prices, because I don't want to do that. I just don't. That's not who I want to target. So just your opinion on, should you negotiate? Should you have different prices for different categories of people, or just a little insight on that would be very helpful.
Sure, I can share my quick take on this. I don't think having categories depending upon the person upfront would be as helpful as probably having structures or tiers inside your pricing, depending upon how much of your time and effort is getting involved, right? So, and yes, I hear you that you don't want to be the kind of person who is negotiating on the package and how much it costs. But what are the variables that you have that you can negotiate on, right? So, for example, if price is a problem, number one, you will have some floor, some floor rate. Like this is the bare minimum. Like I cannot go lower than that, and maybe you're charging say 20% higher than that, right? So maybe you allow somewhere that much. Depend again, your call. But you can definitely negotiate on that. If this is the if this is what you have in mind, and this is clearly not something you can exceed, then I can offer so many sessions at this price, right? Or but I can make sure that my check-ins are happening as much, and you don't so there'll be no difference as such, except that we won't be meeting on in scheduled calls as much, right? So that could be one. The second is you can have tiers, like for one-on-ones or for small group coaching, wherein I think for a coach, our biggest kind of bottleneck is time, right? How many slots we can open up on our calendar, how much we can be available to our clients. So one thing that's worked well for me is, for number one, when clients negotiate on price, it generally turns out to be something else, more of a trust issue than a price issue. So first we have to really get to the bottom of that, and how much they truly trust us to help them get to where they want to be, right? But if it's really price, then one of the things that's worked well for me is that, okay, you can have so many one-on-one sessions, and then I have open office wherein I'm available at a certain time of the week, and clients can just walk into this Zoom session, whoever wants to make it. And it'll be a small group, and you can walk away with the coaching you need, because that frees up your time. And you are available, and it's up to the client or the clients to walk in and get the coaching that they need. So you can throw a few options, and maybe you can have more of lessons, more of videos recorded for them, so that a lot of that knowledge sharing is done through that, or if you're using Pro Coach as well. And you could reduce the sessions, the personal coaching sessions. So, a couple of options that you can play with. But does that help you?
Yes, what you shared was extremely insightful. So like I said, I don't know how the other coaches function, but I primarily function with daily accountability with video calls once in a week. So that's one session. You can call that a week. And I don't like that. This is my only format, right? I think daily accountability ramps up the chances for great results. However, if you leave them, because it's all about accountability, empathy leading to results. So I believe in that. Do you do daily accountability, or
What do you
how do
mean by
you?
daily accountability? What do you mean by that?
So basically, every single day you text, you send pictures of your plates, how you're feeling, how did you sleep, is you have an issue, etc. Because I function 100% online. So I communicate with my clients on a daily basis.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll have a lot to play around with. There's so much you can play around with, right? The client, yes, the client has higher chances of success when they're reporting, their daily food intake, their
Right,
daily.
right.
But does that need your daily feedback, or can your feedback go all together, once a week or twice a week, right? The client needs to lead this. Their effort has to be more, I think.
Right.
Right? So
Absolutely.
we need to record it every day, but do you need to give that feedback one-on-one? Because in real time, right? Because then you're almost like a personal assistant rather than a coach, who's constantly watching and monitoring their food intake. Whereas we want our clients to be more capable, and we want them to we need to be in their radar, but they don't need to count on us every hour, every meal, that now she will send me feedback, because that creates a little bit of dependency, right? And we want them to walk out of our coaching feeling independent and confident in their ability to handle their meals. And I think when we help set them a little distance by maybe checking in on their meals or their practices, maybe once or twice a week, that's good enough, right? That helps them, kind of gives them that freedom to while staying accountable.
Right.
So there's a lot you can play around with, but a lot of it has to do with your own beliefs about what you think really helps your client. Because if you have this really firm belief that my client can do well only when I'm constantly checking in, then that's work at your end.
Right. Okay. And I would love to understand the other coaches, how they function from this aspect.
So I'll just add to what Jasneet pointed out last. She gave you a lot of what I say, tactical or a logistical things, but the challenge isn't that. Challenge is one, when you say, what do I do when somebody negotiates? I don't want to do it, and you're asking everybody. And again, I'm doing it in a very good, healthy way. Is you're one looking for validation that not negotiating is okay. If you're looking for that validation, the answer is okay, go ahead and do it. You have my permission. Okay. I'm just kidding. But that's number one. Okay. So it's you looking for validation. The problem with that is it'll never get satisfied. External validation will never be met because I will say it's okay. Srividya will say it's not. Jasneet say it's okay. And Kate will say it's not. And now we are pulled apart in two different directions. So it's if you don't want to negotiate, you don't want to negotiate. That's done. Over and out. The other thing is whatever your check-in systems are, or whatever you put together, it's your belief of what makes your client successful. Okay. And a lot of times, like we have this and been there, done that. Okay. And that's why I was chuckling a lot when you're asking these questions, because I've been there. Yeah, if I don't check in, what will happen? How will my clients be successful? All of these. The thing is, a lot of these are all belief. Hey, you know what? There was a scheduled call and he didn't show up. He didn't show up because he didn't need me. It's not about me, it's about him. And one of the things, the biggest thing that I've learned about coaching is, as a coach, you cannot work harder than your clients. Okay. You are not going to put the cart in front of the horse. Okay. Horse has to be in the front. I can be your guide, I can be your mentor, I can be your support system, but I'm not pulling you. And I've had this very clear red flag. If somebody comes on my call and says, hey, you know what, I need somebody to push me, I'm like, okay, not my job, right? I'm not really in because if you really want me to do it, I don't think you can afford it, because I need to put so much of time and energy to pull somebody else, and that's really expensive for me. And I'm going to charge you that amount of money, which is probably not what you're ready for. So it's more about getting into deeper details with clients to understand what do they mean by pushing, why is and where is that belief coming from. What, like if they send you a meal picture, it's not that you're not going to respond to that. Okay, but every day morning, if you have to tell him that, hey, please send me meal pictures today, please send me meal pictures today, probably it's something you need to really figure out what you want to do, if that it, kind of makes sense.
Thank you so much. Very insightful. Things to think about. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for the question. I really appreciate it. Adiba, go for it. So just before you do, we are 2 minutes over. I'm happy to stick around for a little bit because I do want to work through the questions as long as that's okay with my co-hosts, because I want to be respectful of your time. It's evening time for you. Are we good to stick around for another 5 or 7?
Yeah,
Works.
we can. I'm okay.
Thank you so much. Adiba, go ahead.
And firstly, I'd like to thank Jasmeet and Dhaval. The last two pointers were really insightful. Like, this is the issue I also face a lot. I try to like go behind the client that, please send me pictures. I need to understand what you're doing. And, that's something I think I really need to think about. Also, my question was that as we spoke about the like joint family system or something like that, wherein like I didn't have a lot of clients like this, but I am like recently having a few of them. And in case they are not able to follow a certain thing, or they're always occupied and not giving priority, but at the same time when they're coming to us, they also expect some kind of result that should be given to them. So in that case, how do you all deal with the client? Because I find that even though we keep the boundaries that we don't set a weight loss goal for them, or one of my recent client, so basically she had a lot of improvement in her energy levels. She started waking up earlier, which she used to not before. I think there's a lot of improvement in her gut health as well, but somewhere she's not seen the weight loss she was expecting. So in that case, like, how do you deal with such clients? Because I'm honestly very new to this, so if I could get some.
Adiba, so can you help me understand this more? You're saying that she wasn't able to see the weight loss that she was expecting, and this is a client in a joint family, and you're saying that was a challenge here.
Yeah. So basically, she stays with her in-laws, and
Right.
like the thing is, in her house, everything is cooked. Like it's quite unhealthy. Like everything is fried and all of that. So she has to take an effort to meal prep for herself. She cannot fit into that diet because it's really very unhealthy for her. So she did take a lot of effort and she started meal prepping, but I still feel that she lacked a few things. She was not able to share a lot of things with me. Sometimes it used to go on and off because, certain functions happened or whatever. So in that case, like there is a slight weight loss that is seen, inch measurements have improved, but I think she is not satisfied thinking that, she's not lost this much weight even after putting in that effort. But I see a lot of non-scale parameters improving. So, like, how would you like approach such a client like that? Because I cannot be like, okay, you didn't put your 100%, but at the same time, I want to make her understand that it takes time. And I also mentioned to her that 1 month is any which way is very less to see any kind of result.
I was going to
Uh,
ask you that. How long was this engagement?
So basically, I do offer 3 months program, but she was very reluctant on a 1 month program, and she was like, I am very unmotivated, and I've tried so many diets in the past and this and that." So as I told you that I have made this mistake in the past, so yeah. But
I think. Yeah. So I think the quick. If I was to like summarize this, I think it's very helpful to establish in advance the goals of the engagement, right? That how much, what you can help them with in how much amount of time, right? Like 3 months is probably the bare minimum time you need for anyone to
correct.
change how they're eating, what they're eating. we barely get to scratch the surface, right? Especially
Correct.
when they're coming from this start point, right? She's not someone who's already eating healthy and still not losing weight, right? She had
Correct.
to go from changing her meals, and then there's eating behavior. So within 1 month, when, for example, when clients join me for 6 months, I like to have a 45-day to a 2 month check-in, which is more like a progress, wherein we sit with the initial assessment and we say, okay, these are the 5 struggles you shared at that time. Let's see how you're doing in struggle number 1, how you're doing in struggle number 2, how you're doing in struggle number 3, right? And then we check in, okay, fair enough. What were the obstacles that came? It's like a larger, assessment, midway assessment of how the coaching program is going, so that at the end of 6 months, they don't, stand up and say, okay, I didn't get what I wanted, right? So we have to keep assessing. Now, if it's only 1 month, I think the goal setting the expectation has to be set accordingly, right? We really can't change much in 1 month, right? So I think this seems to be an expectation issue. Secondly, I think one of the things that's been coming out, which I've noticed from the beginning of the call, is that we seem to be spending a lot of energy on what our clients are eating. Whereas PN has given us tools that help us guide them, help us help them lose weight, gain their energy, improve their health, even without really changing what they're eating. Okay, so how are they sleeping, right? How are they eating? How slowly are they eating? Are they following their hunger signals? Are they, how much of stress eating is happening? How are they handling their stress, right? How are they handling their cravings, right? Boredom eating. There are so many tools that we have, because if a client is coming from a start point wherein their meals are quite unhealthy, there are a million things we can change in their habits that will help them without changing what's on their plate, right? Literally. And I think that whole PN, the actions checklist, what is that called? I'm missing the word right now, right? We
Yeah, the level 1 action to
that there was
sheet.
like
Yeah.
50 captions there, which we can help them with, and then we can leave the meals for later for such clients as well, right? Okay, I'll get to what you're eating later, but let's change how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're taking care of your health, how much you're moving, how much water you're drinking. You can solve for these, and then as they build their confidence, slowly they'll be in a little more ready place to then approach their plate, what's on their plate. They're different, like आप यहाँ से पकड़ लो कान यहाँ से पकड़ लो, but you can always kind of get to their readiness. We can build their readiness, because with every 1 week that they spend practicing eating slowly, they build more confidence in their ability to stick with the program, which is unlike what they would do when they were trying to stick to a diet plan. So utilize everything that you've learned in the PN. Let's not be hyper focused on what's on the plate.
Yeah. But do you think this thought process also comes in because there is a lot of thing around diet plans and losing 5 kgs a month and all of that? Like,
So
What is the expectation that you're setting in the beginning? Are you that kind of a coach?
right.
no, I
So
am
I
not
was I
setting,
was
but I'm
coming to
just
that.
trying to, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, and I can understand this. See, when you're a new coach, when you're new into this, there is this fear of disappointing a client. And what if client does not get a result? What if they don't sign up? What if they don't? So, lot of your starting would have happened with you having a fear. Okay. And I've been there, done that, right? Because of that, you were not setting right expectation. And here it is about being true, okay, and being assertive rather than telling them, hey, you're not putting in effort, you're not going to lose weight. That's not the language you want, but you also want them to know that, hey, you know what, losing weight is an outcome of a particular set of steps or actions that are taken. And if these sets of steps or actions are not taken consistently in the right way, you will not lose. And as Jasneet pointed, there are different ways. Like if somebody is eating the most unhealthy food in the world, you have the biggest leverage to change. Okay. So you look at that as a superpower and say, hey, you know what? Everything that you are doing is a mess. Even if you clean up one part, that's a thing. Like, rather than just removing the spots. So working with a level 3 client is going to be extremely difficult compared to working with a level 1 client, because, small changes in their intake can have a big impact on the outcome. But I think it's more about you having that fear of opening up in front of your clients and fear of failure. Okay, like, hey, you know what if I fail delivering this? And it took me years, okay, to really now and say, hey, you know what, if one of my clients don't get the results, which invariably is going to happen, and I don't expect it, I don't want it, but it can happen because of the reasons and the factors beyond my control. Okay, I'm not God, I can't control everything, do I want to? So I'm absolutely okay accepting it as a result. Probably I learned something that, hey, you know what, I could have done this different, but I'm not going to beat myself up for it and say, hey, you know, I'm a bad coach, I'm a failure, I am pathetic, whatever. And the other thing is also your messaging in whatever ways you're getting your clients. Somehow, if it is about weight loss, people are going to come in and claim weight loss because you've been talking about weight loss. Say, hey, मेरा weight loss तो हुआ नहीं. Like, yeah, but non-scale progress हुआ, but मुझे वो नहीं चाहिए यार, मेरे को बिरयानी खानी थी, तुमने जीरा राइस खिला दिया, but राइस तो है, right? Doesn't work that way. मेरे को तो बिरयानी चाहिए थी, बट आपने बोला यार आपको बिरयानी बनाना से पहले जीरा राइस बनाना तो सीख लो, right? Biryani is a complex process, but no, they're not going to get there because you haven't really laid out that thing very clearly in your enrollment process, in your initial sales calls or whatever calls that you had. And another thing is, it's okay. It's okay. Not everybody who works with you likes you. Not everybody who works with you is going to get results. You don't have to be complacent about it, but you don't have to beat yourself about it and also say, hey, you know what, I need to be 100% successful, because you're not going to be. And there are people who will get results and still not be happy.
Thank you, Deval. Well, I heard something that I want to put on another t-shirt. Not everyone who works with you is going to get results. Can we please remember, this is note to self, right? This is me remember. We will never put Mandy worked with me for 4 months and did not lose a single pound on our website as a testimonial, right? We're just never going to put that on there. That's just how the industry works. We're going to put the testimonials of people who have changed. So you have to complete the picture in your mind, right? Like you kind of have to do a reality check for yourself in terms of what you see out there. And this is a slight parallel, but I think it applies. I think the biggest gift that working in health and fitness has given me is that I can look at any cover of any magazine and I can see what that person actually looks like, right? Because I can see the posing, I can see the shading, I know that it's been like a water fast protocol for 12 weeks. I see how they're arching the ribs and kind of like moving the hips, right? Like, and I know they themselves do not look like that like 2 hours after the photo shoot. Similarly, if you are in an online industry, you should also be able to start reconstructing those stories as well, right? Like where what we see on Instagram, what we see on testimonials of other people, of other coaches, do not tell a full story because we're continuously comparing our insides with people's outsides. And I say that as somebody that has the privilege of seeing people's insides, right? Like of the coaches behind the curtains, right? Like where, and I can tell you a lot of coaches that I've worked with that are really struggling do not look like they're struggling on Instagram, because why would they? We all look super shiny on Instagram. Right, so there is that part of also just kind of completing the picture for ourselves to do the little bit of a reality check. And I think that is a lovely note for us to finish on. I am so grateful to my hosts, to my co-hosts, Coach Jazz, Coach Deval. If anyone wants to pick their brains further I think you can find them through the PN Coaches Facebook group. You can send them a message. I believe both of them have said that they might be available for some consults if that is something that you deem appropriate for yourself, if you feel that that might be helpful. So this is, hire them, pay them if you're going to pick their brain, is my point. I am so grateful for all of you who have made the time to be here, ask questions, contributed, connected. So please say hello in the PN Coaches, pop in on the thread. I will share the recording shortly, and be well.
Thank you so much, all of you, showing up
Thank
and
you. And see you
making it
around.
happen. Thank you.